Hi, I'm Bob Ethington.
And I'm Nick Nicholas.
And this is From Akron and Beyond. Hello there, everybody. This is Bob. Nick is with me. Hi, Nick.
Hey.
We're excited about our guests today. You know, if you drive through downtown Akron, you see all kinds of...
if you walk downtown Akron.
Walk down, drive through, however you are making your way through downtown. A lot of the storefronts now have really innovative displays and things in them that make them attractive. It's a challenge, I would think, for a city like Akron that's, going through a transition. Let's face it, a lot of places are empty and a lot of new businesses hopefully are coming, and to keep that downtown attractive.
We've been going through a transition since I graduated.
Yeah, and so have you, Nick.
Not daycare either.
So anyway, as I was saying, an important part of this is, kind of keeping downtown attractive. And so our guest is Julian Curet, and he is with Curated Storefronts, and they're the people that are behind a lot of this interesting work that's going on downtown. And they caught Nick's attention, which is not easy to do. And so, Nick, get us started here.
Yeah, my wife Jennifer and I were on our way to Lockview, for a drink a few months ago, and when it was still nice and warm, and walking around downtown Akron, and this storefront caught our attention, and it had all these robots in it, and we entered, and were pleasantly surprised how cool it was. I mean, I've seen some of the fellas' collection over the years, and I was intrigued by them, but just being able to walk among them and
that particular business,
that particular
business,
it was just really interesting, and the staff was friendly. They answered our questions. And Julian, that was what was the official name of that curated storefront?
Yeah, so that's just it started out as a little pop-up museum, but the official name is Clayton Bailey's World of Wonders.
Oh, that's the artist, right?
Clayton Bailey is the artist. Yeah, he passed away a few years ago.
Oh.
Yeah, but as you mentioned, you've seen some of that work before.
Yeah.
He was really big in California during the 60s and 70s.
Okay.
And making a lot of what you saw in there. I think the genre is pop art, funk, something like that.
Yeah, okay.
And it's sculptures basically. And so not only putting together found items like you saw in those robots that you could clearly see, like some of the pieces came from a car radio, right? Or household appliances, but also ceramics too. So some of the other things you may have seen in there was like on the other side with like the mad scientist sculptures, Bigfoot bones. He used to do this thing back in the day where he embodied this persona of this like a nutty professor type thing, and he would contact the press and stage these fake like findings of like, look, I found these Bigfoot bones, right. Sort of like tabloid stuff,
right.
And that's how he would promote his art.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So before we go any further, I guess I should ask you, Julian, what is your official title with Curated Storefronts?
I am Operations Director.
Operations Director.
Yeah.
Okay. And as mentioned, the work that you guys are doing is kind of all over downtown, maybe elsewhere as far as I know.
Yeah, tell us.
I'd like to know, first of all, how this whole idea got started, because it sounds like my understanding is it has like arts funding. Okay, but tell us whose idea it was, how it happened.
Yep.
Yeah, sure. So Curated Storefront, our official legal title is Art Resources Transformation. Okay. But the way it got started is our wonderful boss, Rick Rogers, local philanthropist for many, many years. He and his wife, Alita, his parents, Bud and Susie Rogers, were also philanthropists in the area as well for many, many years.
Donors to the Akron Art Museum.
Definitely. Yeah, and so he's carried on that legacy through his work, and he started an art collection a few years ago, I think sometime in the 90s. But in 2016, he had an idea of how can we, like you were talking about earlier, Akron has suffered some losses in terms of businesses moving out over the years, population decline. And so Rick, being from Akron, born and raised, remember what it's like to go downtown and have it be busy, have people out and about, and not turn into a ghost town, after hours or on the weekends even. Right. So in 2016, he came up with an idea that he submitted to the Night Arts Challenge.
Okay.
Right? And that was basically a way to get people's ideas funded, through a selection process. And so his idea was to use contemporary art in underutilized spaces, mainly storefronts. So all those empty storefronts that you walk by with no activity, right? It doesn't make for an attractive downtown area.
Right.
And so how do we address that? And so his idea was one of the ones selected in 2016. He got some startup funding for that. And then in 2019, we officially became a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So we do go after local arts funding, state funding for that. More recently, we've been going after some national funding as well.
Okay. What an interesting idea.
Yeah. Brilliant idea, really.
Yeah.
Using public art to attract people.
Exactly. Right. And so it kind of serves a number of purposes. It makes the place look aesthetically more pleasing, and it kind of helps the artist out too.
And it
can always use some support.
Well, for sure. Like we have this 3-tier approach. Like, first of all, support our local artists. They're very important to the environment here, and we want them to be able to thrive and nurture their careers. But also, not only attract people to the downtown area, but also help out our business owners, our building owners who are struggling to find new tenants in those street level storefronts.
Right. Now, can you remember what the first one was you did?
Oh, very
unfair question.
The very first one, I've only been with the team for about 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Rick would definitely be able to tell you what the first one was. A lot of our early displays in the storefronts really leaned on our awesome partnership with the Meyer School of Art at the University of Akron, Kent State University, a lot of local artists in there, and we've slowly grown from there.
Okay.
Well, did you have anything to do with bringing back of the Christmas decorations and the old Polskis or O'Neill's?
I'm not sure how directly we were involved with that. I know that we've had we've had some. If you've seen in the recent years, nutcrackers that we put out in different places. They'll pop up in different places during the season, and those were in partnership with another local place that was doing that. I forgot exactly where that is, but they have a whole village of these things. And so we've got some local artists to basically make them in the way that they wanted them to. And so we have those. And they'll probably be coming out again this season.
Okay.
A little while ago, we were talking a little bit about here in the studio about you working in radio at one point. Are you from Akron originally?
No, I currently live in North Canton, right? But and I've been in Ohio for about 22 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm originally from New York.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. People from New York coming to so the opposite.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother show.
The typical migration of our guest is people from Akron moving to New York and then moving back to Akron.
There's people from West Virginia coming here and never leaving.
Right.
I've heard both of those narratives for sure. My wife is from Ohio, so that helps.
Okay. You had a connection there. Yeah. How many people are part of Curated Storefronts, like in terms of being employees or however that works?
So right now, the main core of the team there's about 9 of us, including our founding director Rick.
So he's still involved in it.
Oh yeah,
Rick,
for sure.
Very much. Okay,
definitely. Yeah, he's our vision.
Okay,
and then we employ a number of other people, and a lot of people on our team have their own creative practices, by the way. So and they're also trained in art handling and things like that. And so aside from our main core, team members, we also employ a number of other people that help implement our projects, with their own expertise.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, since my general impression, which may be correct or may not be, is that doing anything in downtown Akron gets complicated. I'm just curious. Not expecting you to look under any rocks too carefully here, but I'm just curious. Have you had cooperation from the city in general, and say, for instance, the university or the art museum? I mean, do you feel it's a very cooperative effort?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you involve many community partners with their own different priorities and whatnot, there's always, a river to navigate for sure.
There's usually somebody that's like, well, wait a minute, I could do that, or, why are you doing this? That kind of a thing.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. But I think...
Then why aren't they doing it is the question.
Right. And that's Rick's, like if someone's not doing it, I'm going to do it. But, we have had a great relationship with the city of Akron, and actually, our organization has spanned over now 2 mayoral terms, right? So we started when Horrigan was mayor, and now Shamus Malik is mayor, and they both understand that arts and culture is important to the success of a city.
Right.
I mean, there's not only a number of studies out there, but there's also real world examples in other cities that have been doing that sort of thing and building back up their not only their living areas, but their places where people visit and things like that with art.
Right.
And so City of Akron has been great. County of Summit, Executive Shapiro is also a great supporter of what we're doing. But like I mentioned before, we also have a number of community partners that help us implement our projects in terms of either making sure that we're within the bounds of whatever is set for the area, or that we can gain access to something like Downtown Akron Partnership.
Yeah,
they're great. The University of Akron, Visit Akron, the Bureau, the Chamber, and other arts organizations like Summit Art Space, Akron Soul Train is just a couple doors down from World of Wonders.
Yeah,
and so they're all great partners to have because, like you said, some of us we try not to duplicate effort.
Yeah,
right. Nobody wants to be spending money on something that someone else is already doing to success, right?
Yeah.
But we also try to coordinate efforts. How can we maximize not only our funding that we all get individually as organizations, but our efforts and our vision for downtown? Because everybody, if you're an arts and culture organization in Akron, you're about Akron.
Right.
You're about making that successful and supporting artists in Akron.
Yeah.
I saw too that you have office space and Bounce Innovation. And now, what exactly is that? I mean, that's so, everybody knows that it exists. Tell us a little bit about that.
Right. So officially, we don't have a physical location as far as offices, but we have a number of spaces that we rent in Bounce that most of them are actually sub-rented out to artists. So that's part of currently we're calling it the avant-garde and galleries and studios, right? And so there's a number of spaces, all different sizes and all, serve artists that are in different mediums in different ways. And so we rent those out in Bounce, which also provides a sort of network for the artists, not only to each other, but to artists that we bring in town to either expand their practices, learn more, things like that. And then we do have like a small office space in Bounce.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I took a tour of that when they had like an opening a couple summers ago to check it out. And man, that was a lot going on.
Oh, Bounce, I mean, I just saw something they've been working on their second floor space, and that's going to be opening up soon in December. They're going to have this big thing. So
I was, this gets brought up every now and then on the show. I worked for many years at the downtown library, the Akron Summit County
also
Public
a great
Library.
Partner of ours.
And I was going to say, I'll bet they're involved in this.
Yeah.
And in fact, have you guys even done some curating at the library of their windows and stuff?
We have had a couple displays by the windows.
Right.
A few years ago, there was one inside as well.
Okay.
We haven't had something in there since last year.
Okay.
we celebrated with Goodyear their anniversary last year.
All right.
So they were generous with a contribution to our efforts, and part of our work with them was helping celebrate their anniversary with a series of storefronts that featured historical tires and other items, and their documentary as well. And the library is one of those.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
This is From Akron and Beyond. I'm Bob Ethington with co-host Nick Nicholas, and we are here today with our guest, Julian Curet from Curated Storefronts, talking about beautifying and sort of energizing the
And educating.
Very nice, Nick. The Akron downtown area. I keep mentioning Akron downtown. Have you guys done stuff beyond downtown?
We had a project a few years ago. We were connected to Cuyahoga Falls through Nicole Mullet and Arts Now, the local arts council, another great partner, by the way. And we kind of helped with a few public art installations that they put in their downtown area.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to the Falls lately? I mean, they're one, like, it's what we're trying to do with Downtown Akron.
Yeah.
They've got this awesome, just walkable streets of things to do.
A lot of action in the Falls.
Yeah, and good for them. Good for them. But we were proud to be part of that project.
They did the right thing, once they uprooted that stupid mall concept, where cars couldn't drive down in downtown,
Yeah.
But they, it's interesting what has happened with the Falls in that, I don't know, I'll just speak from my own personal experience. It kind of seemed like it came out of nowhere. Obviously it didn't. Yeah, but I mean, it was like, somebody wanted to meet at, a restaurant there, and this was like a year ago or a year and a half ago or so. And I go there and I'm like, wow, what happened down here? And it does seem like a template of sorts for something that could happen in Akron.
How to do things right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I would say overall our team size has really kept our focus to Akron.
Right.
And even after
Akron needs plenty of focus.
Even after 8 years, there's so much more to do.
Right.
8 years, huh?
That's
Wow.
Yeah. Now, give us some other examples. We've heard about the robots. I've heard incessantly about these robots, by the way. And so talk about some of the other projects that you guys have made happen downtown. I know that you've done lighting for some of the buildings, and I think that's an interesting idea.
Tell me about it. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, first I want to say that your experience of you were going down there to go have dinner or just hang out, and you stopped by, and your evening hopefully was improved by this visit to World of Wonders. And that right there is the essence of what the experience we're trying to create, is that you come downtown and you visit something, you go see something, then you go support another local business, right? And then you string together these experiences for an evening of something you're going to go and tell your friends, like, hey, you got to go. And then the growth happens from that sort of experience.
Right.
But the other things we've got going on is obviously our storefronts. You mentioned our digital art, which we've been getting into in the last few years, and that's those big light displays. We have monitors that we can remotely program with digital art. And so one of our biggest displays was in Building E on Main Street, and that's just a couple doors down from the night stage in the Civic Theater.
Okay.
So a couple doors down from that, every window had a monitor and just all connected together for this huge digital art display with an artist from Cleveland, Kasumi.
Okay.
With her creations. We've also had Ian Brill, who has actually been working with us to develop that software so we can deploy the content remotely. Yeah. And other places that we've had those monitors in are the O'Neill's building, one of the county buildings where Arts Now is across the street from that. We also put art on the Akron Civic Theater's outdoor large monitor that you've seen. So interspersed through their own announcements,
I saw that.
The art that you see on there is content that we have provided.
Yeah.
Was that also that one building that it's way over 100 years old? It used to have to do with the buses, trolleys in Akron. That's on Main Street. Oh, can't think. It's way north.
Like by the end of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was before I joined the team. We did, in one of those buildings right there, we had a display, a large display. Then that was also Ian Brill.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then the City Center Hotel, which is now, empty.
Yeah.
The very top floor of that, all the way around, it's called Band. That is also another light display by Ian Brill. And at night, you can see it from like a few miles all the way around.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a program that, again, started a few years ago. We call it Pixelation, P-I-X, and then the word elation.
Have to watch out for those copyrights and trademarks.
And then, so based under that umbrella, this is a initiative that we're trying to grow with more locations. We also have in the North Side District, by the bike shop that's out there on their property, we have several shipping containers that have been recycled, and they're stationed there with murals on the sides that get swapped out about maybe every 6 months or so.
Okay.
And then every now and then we can actually open up the shipping container and program the inside with either performance art or installations that are there just temporarily.
Oh, that's very cool.
For a more like immersive experience.
Wow.
Yeah. And so let's see, that was outside the box, we call that, with our murals, the storefronts, World of Wonders, Avant-Garde, and we talked about with the studio rentals. But another program we do that may seem separate, but it's still within our mission in terms of cultivating the arts and culture audience here in Akron. We have an artist residency program in partnership with the I Promise School.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah, so in the fall and spring semesters, we maybe about like 4 experiences a year, a school year. We'll bring an artist to the school to work with the kids in different mediums, and even including like music, performance art, painting, ceramics, things like that. And it helps not only boost their confidence and learn more like cooperative and collaborative skills, but also, hey, there might be a burgeoning artist in there.
Right.
And even if not,
probably is. Yeah.
You grow up to be a supporter and an advocate. Because we need those too.
Right.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah, it is. If you are growing up without exposure to any of the arts, it's very difficult often to really develop any appreciation for them, and your life is poorer for that, I think.
Well, I remember, I went to inner city schools. When I was growing up in Akron, I remember bringing the Akron Symphony in, a few times in my life there, and classical pianist from you remember things like that.
Sure, right, exactly.
Yeah. I'll tell you a big project we just finished up is in partnership with the Akron Civic Theater. We had an artist from Italy. His name is Manuel de Rita, but he goes by the name Pita. That's his artist name.
Okay.
So we had him come in over the summer, and he painted a huge mural on the side of the Akron Civic Theater facing Lock 4.
Okay.
It's called Urban Mirage.
All right.
Right, and it plays with your depth perception when it's kind of like anamorphic almost.
Yeah, I've seen this.
Yeah. So that was just finished up. We're really proud of that one.
Yeah.
Man.
Now, how does a typical installation come about? Do you as Curated Storefronts go to a particular business or owner of a building, or do they reach out to you, or how does that work? Or both?
Yeah, there's no one way that this happens, but usually it is we do some community mapping and we identify some spaces that could benefit from some sort of activity happening there. And if it's not city owned, we approach the owner themselves, and basically we pitch to them like, hey, maybe this has been sitting here for a while, and you need a renter, you need a tenant or something. We can fill it with art, and help you basically advertise better.
Yeah, right.
You know,
you're making the place more
bring
attractive.
eyes,
by
bring
doing
eyes
this.
to it. There's something. Oh, what's happening here?
Yeah.
And then you see the space, and if you yourself are a business owner and you've been looking for something,
Right.
you know, and so that's usually the pitch.
Yeah.
You know.
You know, it's funny. As we've been talking, I was thinking about what Nick said about how Akron's been in transition as long as he's been around, pretty much, which is true. Sometimes I wonder, like, I'm just wondering your take on this, Julian. It might be a little, I don't know. You have to walk lightly on this one. I'm not sure, but I mean, for instance, the Polsky building. Okay, so it's empty, right? And
semi
empty, but there's always something new that's going to go into it, right? Supposedly, yes. There's other buildings like that downtown, and those buildings have been there quite a while now. I mean, is there ever any feeling on anyone's part that there's a race against time here, that we kind of need to get some of this stuff done? Because at some point, someone's going to come in and they're just going to say, this big, beautiful old department store, we just need to tear it down because it's not worth trying to renovate.
It's a controversy right now with the old Akron Beacon Journal building.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, we've encountered.
I don't know even quite what I'm asking here, but you're sort of the general feeling you have when you're doing this, since you're in the middle of it.
Well, and similar situation with Quaker Square, right?
Oh, yeah.
Also owned by the University of Akron.
Right.
We actually activated Quaker Square in 2022 for several months. We partnered with the Front Triennial. They were out of Cleveland. They closed up shop earlier this year, but they held several basically like international exhibitions in several sites with local, regional, and international artists. So we partnered with them and brought some of that activity down to Akron in Quaker Square.
Right.
And after that, the president at that time said, you know what, we've had renewed interest in the space because of what you're doing there. Right. Yeah. So that's always our goal.
Right.
But a place like Polsky, where currently World of Wonders is in right now, and we actually have some of those side windows too. If you've noticed the big mirrors, and that's also an art installation that we've had there for a few years now by the artist Gustavo Prado.
Okay, yeah.
And so we're always, wondering how long we're going to have that space.
Right.
When University of Akron decides to do something different with it. And we know there's been several presidents and several boards that have different priorities with what they're doing, budget concerns, individual building owners also, like, we have to navigate all of that.
Sure.
And so it's the struggle between, we know there are empty spaces, and the pure 100% success at what we're doing means that there are no empty spaces.
Right.
If we can put ourselves out of business because everything's filled, then we've done our job. But, it doesn't look like any of those spaces are going anywhere just yet.
Right.
So while the powers that be are working it out on the business side, we're going to come in and say, while you're working on that, let's make this look a little prettier.
Right.
More interesting.
Yeah.
Let's bring the activity in here while you hash that out.
It seems like a no-lose proposition to them, right?
Yeah, from our perspective, of course. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There's always red tape wherever you go, though.
Right. Of course.
Sure.
So, Julian, let's get a little more personal with you. So you mentioned that you are from New York City originally?
Well, that's where I was born.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. And then did you go to school there, or how did that work out?
So I was born in the city in Manhattan, and then when I was about 10, we moved upstate to the Capital Region area, Troy, Albany. And those were my formative years, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I met my wife when I was 21, 22.
Okay.
And then just where I was at that point, she was done being in New York for her year, and we just came back to Ohio.
Okay. Nice.
And started our family here.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Great. And a question we often ask our guests,
always,
even though it may have no pertinence to anything, but we're just morbidly curious, is that the show sort of has a music-centric purpose. And so What music are you into? What do you listen to?
First of all, I love music, right? But I think at heart, I am a 90s grunge kid.
Okay.
For sure. Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Green Day, all of that, punk,
Right.
But in my more recent years, I've actually been listening to more, I don't even know what you would call the genre. One day, this was maybe 6 years ago, I just started a Pandora station called Waylon Jennings.
Okay.
Because I heard a song and I was like, oh, I like this. I used to listen to like Celtic Women, and so that kind of has that same vibe with like harmonies and all of that.
Right, yeah.
And from there, it just spun out into this kind of like bluegrass, country-ish type of music. And then we started watching the show Yellowstone.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
The soundtrack to that is amazing. One of my favorite people that came off there, Ryan Bingham.
Yeah, yeah.
And then that led me into Tyler Childers.
Right.
Kind of tangentially, I started listening to Brandi Carlile.
Yeah.
Yep. I always mix her up with the lady from the B-52s. Not Belinda Carlisle, right? Brandi Carlile. I just love her music. And so that's really what's been in my zone for the last couple years or so.
Okay.
But I never let go of my 90s.
Right. Well, I have this theory that all, or most, Nick might be an exception, but most old punk rockers end up getting into country at some point. It's funny how many actual musicians have, like John Doe and people like that. The guys in the Mekons, their albums later are real country-ish kind of albums. So there's a similar authenticity and approach, I think, maybe, to that. Yeah.
Actually,
lyrically.
I bought a Dolly Parton album a couple of weeks ago.
Well, there you go. All right.
Yeah.
And I cried during 2 of those songs.
Because you bought it, or because you... No, she's great, obviously. So I'm sure you were moved.
Yeah.
You were moved. Okay.
I think lyrically, like that kind of music speaks to that same sort of angstiness that 90s rock and grunge spoke to.
Right.
Except on a more, I don't want to say mature level, but maybe a more expanded, deeper, complex level for sure.
Yeah.
And, we or the outlaw country guys a few years ago. The fellow from Akron was part of it. Can't think of his name.
David Allen Coe.
David Allen Coe,
Sure.
Yeah.
Some real Akron history there.
Yeah. But when you mentioned that original show that you'd picked up, of course, all those guys like Waylon and Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, that stuff's all timeless. So anyway, enough of that. Well,
Yeah.
We're here with Julian Curet, and we are talking about curated storefronts and what they're doing in the Akron and specifically downtown Akron area. What would you say is, because I'm watching the old clock on the wall here, and we got a little time left, not too much though. So I have a couple of big questions for you. One would be, the biggest project that you've done, what the most ambitious one? What would you say? Maybe it's come up already, but what would you say that would be?
Definitely the one I mentioned with our partnership with the Front Triennial in 2022. That was right before I joined the team, but that was a huge undertaking. And going into Quaker Square, that was not outfitted for an art exhibition at all.
Yeah,
right. Many of those spaces hadn't even been used in a number of years.
Yeah. Right.
And so there was a lot of effort taken to build up that infrastructure so it become an inhabitable space for the next few months.
Yeah.
And then also to bring in the art and make sure that it can be hung correctly and displayed correctly and stay safe.
What part of the structure did you use? Like what used to be public space, people used to go and shop there, that area, or part of the hotel?
Not the hotel, but yes, that first floor and then the floor underneath that. And so it was a mix of Front Triennial artists, some collection from Rick's collection, but then also a bunch of regional artists as well. And so we had several spaces activated, and we had to put like locks on the doors on some of those, security, things like that. Even the window where I guess and the corridor leading to what used to be the restaurant. There's some windows there.
Yeah.
We even put art in those spaces.
Okay.
I know that space real well, that part.
Yeah.
You used to watch the trains go by.
There you go.
The model trains.
Yeah.
Another loaded question. How is it generally working with these artists? Are they, some, it seems to me, are probably thrilled to be involved, maybe most, but also some can probably be pretty demanding on specifically how their art is presented.
Well, sure. I mean, just like
I would not blame them. They should be.
Yeah, just like any group of people, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, we have to approach all sorts of different kinds of artists working in different kinds of media.
Different personalities.
With their own personalities and priorities as well. And also just levels of accessibility.
Sure.
You know? And so...
Yeah, because you've mentioned some artists that are like from Italy and stuff, right?
Yeah. And I mean, most of our artists, I think we're about maybe 65% regional.
Yeah.
But even like communication styles.
Right.
You know, one is better at texting versus using email, or one would rather call on the phone.
Right.
That's me.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And then what do you have any big project on the horizon that you can talk about? Oh, good.
Yeah. We so as you may know, Lock 3 is undergoing this renovation.
Oh, yeah.
Big time.
Which we're excited about. We're looking forward to all the new things that are going to be in there, and the return of the number of people that come down to the area year after year. We are working on doing a sort of like sculpture garden in the middle of all that.
Okay.
One that's for sure happening is a brand new commission for a sculpture by the artist Shikaya Booker.
So it would be a permanent...
This would be a permanent thing that would stay in there.
Okay.
And Shikaya Booker was actually part of Front Triennial a few years ago, but she's also been displayed at the Akron Art Museum years before that. She is originally from New York, but she's been shown all over the United States and all over the world. And what's great about her is that her medium is rubber. Her sculptures are steel and rubber, discarded rubber tires and all of that.
Wow.
And she creates sculptures out of that. And so,
man,
first of all,
it's perfect.
Yeah, it's. I mean, this is the Rubber City.
Right.
You know?
That's us. It's in our blood.
Yeah, and it's not just the rubber, but the way she uses it to speak to Black culture and the Black experience in all of our Rust Belt cities.
Yeah.
You know, her perspective on that.
Right.
Rust Belt cities in general, working class, all of that. She kind of interrogates with her art.
The whole migration.
Yeah, and
stuff,
I think Akron embodies that.
Oh, definitely.
Sure.
And so it's a perfect addition to this project. It's still in progress, obviously.
Yeah.
But we're excited to get that installed once it's finished. Maybe by next year.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple of other artists that we have in the wings that we're working with.
Right. I have a slight involvement with the history museum, history center that's going to get put in.
David Lieberth.
Dave Lieberth, yeah. And so I'm sure you've been dealing with him.
Yeah, he actually was gracious. He was our gracious host for our fundraiser 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
We activated that building because that's what we like to do. We like to go into spaces that you haven't been in before or in a very long time.
Right.
And for the evening, we used all 3 levels of that for our fundraiser.
Of the Civic Common thing?
Of that's actually Building E, where the Akron History Museum is going.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But you're talking about where the museum will be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
Actually, no. Correction. Building E is next to that.
Okay.
Yeah,
that sounds right. But not that I really know all that much about it.
You know the difference between B or C.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That part I've got down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wanted to mention too. I was looking through your, your page, on your, wherever, and you have a real impressive board too. The people that are really, embedded in Akron. So you have the right people on your board too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Besides your employees, which have very talented employees, but talented board.
Yeah, no, thank you. So on our website, curatedStorefront.org, you can go see our team members and our board members, led by our board president, Shirley Smith. She's great. And we've got, Fred Bidwell on there, who is out of Cleveland, but also still very Akron focused as well.
Yeah.
We've got a number of other members like Sandy Auburn, who are very local, Steve Marks, who he and his wife started the Akron Marathon,
Right.
if I remember correctly. And then we also have a couple of out-of-state members, though, who run their own arts organizations. But they've developed a relationship over the years with Rick Rogers.
Okay.
And they're willing to lend their expertise and time to us, which we're grateful
which is
for.
good. Why be reinventing the wheel?
I remember like 40-something years ago when I was running Clone Records, Fred Bidwell's wife, she wasn't his wife at the time, Ruth, did a record cover for the first Waitresses 45 that I released.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit of Akron history.
Yeah, a little bit of Nick Nicholas history. Gets a little bit of that in every show. Well, this has been a pleasure talking to you, Julian.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here.
And this is I'm going to immediately just say this. I'm proud of this show, this particular episode, because you're exactly the kind of guy that should be getting more recognition.
Absolutely.
What the work that your group is doing should be more known. I mean, Nick brought up this, he was like, I saw these robots. Again, the robots. But I didn't really know anything about this. And I'd heard of the group, but I didn't really know what you were doing or how it was, what the goals were, or how it was working. And so I've learned a lot from this.
Very intriguing, and now our audience knows.
Right, exactly. So next time you're downtown, look for these things.
Yeah. If you go to our website, again, curatedStorefront.org, there is, on one of the pages, there's actually a Google map that acts as a tour guide. So you can, if you start in the North Side District, and on one of those shipping containers, there's a little QR code that brings you right to the map.
Yeah.
And it tells you, okay, if you go start there, you go down to Main Street, you walk down, here's all our exhibits, and you can find more information on that map.
Yeah, I did in preparation for the show. I looked at that
Me too.
Your website, and it's really well done and very helpful, very accessible. So I do recommend going to that and checking it out. So again, we want to thank our guest, Julian Curet, for being here today with us. This has been From Akron and Beyond. I'm Bob Ethington with Nick Nicholas, and we will see you next time.
So long.